here, and we were talking about how do we get the date going. All right, what do we do to put the date or some information on the image? Now we go to this image here and we want to print it. All right, so done. All right, so we go to File, Print, and Customize, and Layout. And as you see, there's little thumbnails here, and it's not all that helpful because there's little weird little generic text at the bottom of two of these. So for the horizontal ones, I would go with, of course, the horizontal one here. And it says insert a description of your photo. So then that's when I would type the date, the place, and the magic number. Okay. And right from there, you print it. So you'll have a date right there within iPhoto. That's one way to do it. There might be some other ways with description and file info, but I haven't had much success with that. So if somebody else has, definitely please let us know. Now we close iPhoto here. And here's another question. We have something that this person has put off far too long. And he or she, I'm not quite he or she. When I add text in Microsoft Word, text looks perfect. Crisp, clean like it should. When I add it in Adobe Photoshop, it's artifacty and jagged. I'm obviously doing something wrong. And he says, I can view an example. And I was given a link, and I went to the link didn't work. So, but I think we can illustrate it on screen for you. At the top left, with a black outline of Partners in Time, that's the name of the image, of white text, and also orange text, all comes out jaggedy. This is not the font as I tried other fonts with the same issue. Here's what I'm using. Photoshop CS5. Alright, he creates a new file, clicks the T on the left side to add text at the top, changes. He's even tried changing the size to 300, and that still shows the edges to be too jagged. So I don't have specifics of exactly the process that you've used, but I think we might be able to fix it, because it sounds like if you go about doing this a little differently in different steps, I think we can solve it. So let's go to our trusty Photoshop CS5. And alright. Now here we are in CS5. I will, in this case, just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to actually make a duplicate of this, and I'm going to merge the layers. This happened to be something we were working on a previous show, and I still had all the layers in it. I really don't want to distract people with that now. So, always check the image size before you start typing your text. So go to Image, Image Size. Okay, now what I would do is I would check this resolution here. Alright, now it's kind of goofy here because this was shot from a camera phone. So I'm going to assume your image isn't from a camera phone, but nevertheless, in case it is, for those who have one that is, we uncheck resample, We put a normal amount, just like the question said, 300. Then we recheck resample. This makes sure that we don't blow it up or shrink it. We're only changing the way the image is interpreted. The image data is interpreted. Now we're at 4 inches by 3 inches. Okay, now this is important. When I go to the type tool or the text tool, alright, sometimes it's a little slow because depending on how many fonts you have installed on your software, it actually has to load all those fonts and give previews of them. That can be a real pain, as it takes forever and ever. So we'll click here, and we see up here it's 12 point. Another thing that you may notice is we have the anti-aliasing method is sharp, and we'll type out exhibit 1, right? And we select it. Let's make the text real big, and I'll check the checkbox. Next, I'll grab the move tool, right here. Alright, and we'll zoom in. This is not jagged, right? Now, what I'm hoping you're going to do is you're going to go to File, New, and you're going to look here. You're going to, because you know by default, Photoshop CS5 is going to give you a 5:7 at 72 pixels per inch. Well, if you put type into that and you print it out, it's going to look jagged no matter what. So what I would do is I would change that, and you start with 300 pixels per inch. Now in your note, I'm not sure, I don't see anything about the size, but let's assume it's an 8:10. I'll go 10:8. And up here for name, we'll call it, you wanted to call it Partners in Time, so that's what I'll call mine. Now I get the type tool, like you did. And I click here, right? And we'll call it Exhibit 2. Alright? I can even make the type bigger. Hit the checkbox. And there we have it. It's very sharp. I mean, even when I go like this. Alright? Now, it's not going to be like Microsoft Word. Do you know why? Anybody out there know why Photoshop, I want you to use that chat box, why Photoshop and Microsoft Word display fonts differently? I'm gonna give you a minute. I'm gonna give you a minute to figure this one out. What is a selection?
What are layers?
What is a
What
selection?
is resolution?
What are layers? What is JPEG?
What is a
What
selection?
is resolution?
What
TIFF?
is
What
JPEG?
is RGB?
How do I crop a picture?
What is a zoom tool?
What is a clone stamp?
What are levels?
My name is Eric Basir, and I have produced this unique photo restoration and retouching foundations video course to answer all these questions and more. In my classes and workshops, I have taught hundreds how to preserve and restore their personal photographic collections with Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Photoshop Elements. Now you can have me as your personal instructor in this 10-lesson course. After studying the videos and easy-to-read workbook, you'll finish with a firm foundation of how to use Adobe Photoshop or any other photo editing program confidently and correctly. Alright, so you had 60 seconds to enter your answer in the chat box. So you must be stumped. That's okay. It's not an easy question. Alright, when Microsoft Word is displaying fonts, it's displaying them in what you could say is a, just to put it easy, it is in a vector display. So that is, no matter how big you make the font, it's going to be crisp on screen and print. Because the way type fonts are created and displayed in a word processor, in a page layout program, in a art program like Illustrator, Freehand, CorelDRAW, is very different from a bitmap based program such as Photoshop, PaintShop Pro. These programs display everything in pixels per inch. Microsoft Word does not deal with that. You can place objects, you can place pictures inside, okay, which I really discourage that if you want to make a professional publication. But you know, this is why you find it kind of confusing sometimes going between the two. But I think if you follow, you know, what I said over here about first creating the image, okay, let's just do what I think you did. So I'm thinking you went at 72 at 8 by 10. Okay, and I'd say exhibit. All right, 2. This is at 72 pixels per. Now I'm already zoomed in. Let's see what percent. I'm at 300% with this. So let's just zoom out. 100% isn't so bad. But when you print this out, this is how it will look. So we go back to this one that we created. I'm at 100% now. Look at how sharp it is. I'm at 200%, 300%. So again, I think it's just how you're going about creating the document. I'm not sure. Again, I couldn't find your files online, but you know, that should be useful for you and those who might be watching. There's let's see, how can I put it to you? Ideally, ideally you want to leave Photoshop to handle the work of dealing with images. Not necessarily drawings. Well, it could be drawings. Scanned images and digital images. Photoshop is really good at dealing with that. But when you want to marry images with text, the best way to do it is to use a layout program, a page layout program. If you're making a website, it should be a website program. Now there's some programs, some plugins. I think one is called Site Grinder, and you can create a whole web page in Photoshop, and the plugin will spit out a web page with all the HTML and JavaScript and oogly booglies. But like I said, I'm giving you the ideal. So when I create my documents, if I have any here, oh, another shameless promotion. I can't help it. I have to eat. My book, book 1 of digital photo restoration, right? All of this was laid out in a program called Adobe InDesign. It's a layout program. But the photos were all prepared in Photoshop, and they were placed inside InDesign. So I didn't edit the photos in InDesign. I placed images I already edited in InDesign. Now, in many cases, here's the other ideal. Okay, the other ideal is when you make the text for your book, you should use Microsoft Word or something like it. When you create the text in Microsoft Word, then you can edit it and have other people edit it and really break it down. Clean it up, make sure it's straight. And then when you lay it out in InDesign in your pages, you lay out your boxes for your images or your graphics, and then you lay out your boxes for your text. There's all a way to go about doing things in an orderly fashion. But because of the way software is made, and that is it has to be user-friendly, they set it up so you can do anything with it. I mean, you know, you could figure out a way to make toast with Photoshop if you wanted. There's got to be ways to do everything with it. But really, Photoshop is good for editing pictures. So I think that's about it for tonight. Unless there's any other questions, I see no questions in the chat room. I would like to say thank you for joining us this month. Next show will be sometime in December. Join the newsletter. I won't give out your information. And you join the newsletter and you get the updates about when the next show will be. Or like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. And all kinds of good stuff. Hey, my name is Eric Basir. This is Ask the Retoucher. Good day.